Yeah.
And she learned of our journey, and then came some time with COVID, and it was the time to start an online business. So
Yeah.
here I am now, working with families all over the world, specifically around severe autism, and our results are just next to kind of miracle. So
Yeah.
we fell in love with this business, and we've been doing it for I'd say almost 5 years now. So that is what I do.
There you go. I love that. I love that. And it's such cool work. And it's also very specific, which I think is also why it does attract the specific people. So, and we're going to get into that a little bit as we go on. But let's talk about business pre working with us. Because obviously you already were growing the business. You already had some decent months and everything. So maybe kind of just give a bit of a description of where the business was at before we started working together so people have a bit of a understanding of that.
Yeah. So there was a time where email marketing was doing really well. And so my business was built at that time around email marketing. And then,
Yeah.
2024 February hit, and and then everything changed. Even though we had put like we did all the right things. We had all the right things in place that other email marketers had told us. And it wasn't
Yeah.
just us, like the whole of the world took a different, like email went in a completely different direction. And I used to run
Mhm.
my challenges in email. Like that's how I actually got people to come in.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
run challenges. We would do like my sequences of emails. Post a challenge was like 40 emails, like literally twice a day. And
That's
it worked.
crazy.
It worked though, and it was doing really, really well until that time. And
Yeah.
so the problem, and I think that one of the things that attracted me a lot to this framework was that I knew I had people to work with. I knew I
Yeah.
had what we call leads, and families that really, really needed to work with me. It was like a funnel that was very broken. Like the bottom was like,
Yeah.
it's like somebody put a plug in it when email marketing went out. So
Yeah.
our months, which were at anywhere between like 30 and 50,000 at the most, they started to dwindle down, and they were really starting to get to a number
Mhm.
that was kind of scary, to be honest. And at that point I was like, okay, this isn't working. What are we going to do next? Like, how do we move forward? And social
Mm.
media was, interestingly enough, I was using email marketing, and social media was actually where all my leads were coming from.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So I needed to find a framework with someone who knew how to use social media really well. And so
Yeah.
that's what brought me to this space for
There
sure.
you go. There you go. So business had been working, but there
Mhm.
obviously were some things that needed to be fixed. So now, first of all, I do want to quickly before we dive into strategy, we'll get into strategy here in a second. What caused you to actually decide that, hey, I do want to pay real good money to someone to actually work with? Because a lot of people try to do it on their own. So, what
Mhm.
was it in your mindset that was like, no, I'm actually going to get some guidance and get a mentor to help you with this?
Yeah, so I'm not new to mentorship. I think like between my business partner and I,
Right.
we'd already invested like $80,000 easily, which is why
Yeah.
our business had actually grown as much as it had. Like truthfully, when we hit our
Right.
first kind of $10,000 months was within the first year, and it was not because I did it alone. No, I was very aware from right from the beginning that I needed help, and I come
Yeah.
from I don't want to say I come from a space that's like that, but I had already trained myself through essential oils and all these things. So I had moved forward. So
Yeah.
what actually made me decide to spend more money than I ever had before was more that there was two reasons actually. The first reason was because
Yeah.
Milan, my business partner, was also in the program, and she
Right.
had been following you for quite some time, and she knew that your personality specifically was a personality for my drive.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a thing with us, is like I go fast. And so I would like someone who's going to not fluff around anything. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to
Very
go
good.
fast. So it was hearsay, right? So we know word of mouth is probably going to be the strongest way that you're going to be brought into this any type of
Yeah.
world.
Totally.
And so the second thing was we had a call, and a lot of the questions that you asked were what I was looking for, and specifically the pain points I was in, which was a
Mm.
framework for social media and strategy. So that's what made
Yeah.
me say yes. So just the answers were there, and I already knew
Yeah.
there was going to be some sort of investment at some point because I was lost. So that was
For
the
sure.
kind of tipping over.
For sure. Now let's dive into like the nitty gritty, the strategy actually. And folks, if you have questions, those that are on the live here or afterwards, comment them down below because I want to make sure they're answered, whether live here today or afterwards. Let's talk about the strategy that allowed us to go from, I think, when we talked about averaging about $30,000 a month to in November having your first over $80,000 month. And I kind of want to break this down into a couple different things because when you came to us, you were getting a decent amount of leads actually, but it
Mhm.
was actually, and I think the way that I described it to you is like you have all these leads and then like it just siphons off into hardly anyone is like converting. So maybe walk through. Let's talk about maybe the
I love
first
how
thing
you
about like
describe it.
turning.
Can I describe it my way just for fun? He says it
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
100%.
Basically, like it's like a funnel where not too much is going through. I feel like it was a funnel that somebody put a bottleneck to, and everything was coming back out the other side.
Yes, it
Like,
was. Yeah, exactly. It was spilling out for sure. I mean, you were still making some money, so I was trying to, I was trying to give you the
but it
grace
was
of
just
that.
really funny. But sure, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So let's talk about, in your opinion, maybe the top couple strategies that come straight to your mind of like we implemented month one that started to make the change of almost growing your business by like three times.
Um, if I had to think of, well, there was a lot. We did a lot in the first like
Yeah,
2 months.
we did
So
a
if I
lot.
were to think, if I were to think of one of the first things was to really get systemic in the back of
Yeah,
we have a team, right? So it's not just me, just so everybody knows. Like we have a team
yeah,
of roughly around 11 individuals right now, and so we really needed to create structure around how our funnel, I guess that's the word you would use, but how our people would be able to get to a phone call without burning out because our delivery system for us and for our we focus on behavior change, so our deliverables are both very expensive and also very
yeah.
intensive. So it's like, how do
Mhm.
we manage that? So we had to build something that was going to basically run even when I wasn't there. But at first, you have to be there. So I had to be there. So I had to get
Yeah.
nitty gritty back into messaging and sales calls. So I
Yes.
was
So, and this is actually this is important because you're already making good money. You had a team. A lot of people will just try to tell their team what to do. And as much as I didn't want you to have to go back into the weeds, that first month was like, okay, Natalie, you are going to do sales calls and you are going to message all like you had hundreds of people that you could like reach out to that were like engaging with our content and commenting. And so I was like, hey, let's create the pathway that is now going to turn people onto sales calls consistently and closing them. And then we started to hand it off to your team. And so once we started to hand it off to your team, I mean, maybe start to talk about like how the volume increased a little bit with that.
So I'll start by saying that I already had a team member that was helping me in my messages. So that was,
Yeah.
and we actually had a team member for a long time that was helping me in my messages. And I will be transparent to say that I was not aware that there was specific types of training that would be helpful to them. And because I'm
Hmm.
very fresh in this. And so our numbers started to go down and it was not his fault. It was not their fault at all. It was more that it was not improper training, but improper knowledge. So when I
Yeah.
got to go back in there and I started to we messaged together. And not only that, though, we also started to use a much better system around numbers and KPIs and things that we'd never done before. Our KPIs
Yeah.
before was aimed at like 60 conversations per day. And all of a sudden, between the two of us, we were doing something along the lines of 200.
Right. Wow. Yeah, exactly. So just a quick second. Someone's saying it's hard to hear
Me?
Natalie.
Really? Okay, hold on a second. I do
Interesting.
have a Yeti, so just give me a sec. Sometimes it's not always as friendly as it needs to be. Can you hear me now? Oh, I can't hear you, Ruben. Now you're all gone.
Think we are back. We are back, I think. There we go.
Okay. Can
Okay.
you
I can hear you. And Terry says she
Okay.
can hear you as well. So we're gonna keep going. If you can't hear us, folks,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I brought the
Um,
microphone closer.
okay, perfect. So yeah, we went in and we looked at the KPIs because I think at that point you were sending out, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 messages a
Yeah.
day.
Because we
And
were we were literally not even able to track them. Like
yeah,
we had no tracking system whatsoever.
exactly. And this is where like And now these numbers might sound big, people, but you are doing about $30,000 a month, right?
Mhm.
Doing 40, 50 messages a day. But obviously, you didn't want to stay there. You wanted to grow. And so we did up the numbers of like, you are now having conversations with 200 people a day, which
Mhm.
sounds crazy, but also growing a business at $80,000 a month also sounds crazy, right? So big months require big effort. So,
And
and
just
I,
so everyone knows, like I post content daily. Like I have posted content daily for the last 5 years.
yeah,
So our Instagram account and a couple of other accounts, our Facebook account is at something along like 70,000 now together, or
yeah.
80,000, 90,000.
Exactly. I love that. So we're finally getting way more calls booked. I mean, at this point, how many calls booked per day would be average?
At the beginning, oh, it was very up and down. I'd say that I think our goal was that we would just do one call. We would book one call per day.
Yeah.
And we slowly have been bringing that up to like in the month that we did 80,000, we definitely would be, I think we booked between 3 and 5 calls per day,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
which
Now,
obviously I didn't do all of those, by the way. I did
for
some.
sure. For sure. So let's also start to talk a little bit about the like audience growth side of things. So obviously your content's going viral, but we're also like boosting posts as well to grow your audience. And that's
Yeah,
something
that
we
was a little new to me.
Yeah, and we do that with a lot of our clients. A lot of you have seen us talk about like our mini ad strategy and all that kind of stuff. Maybe talk to people a little bit about that and how that's working for you.
So boosting content was really new to me, but at the same time, it kind of made sense. I had dabbled in ads a little bit personally. Boosting content made a big difference, and it still does. So our boosted posts, I would say, at even the $5 strategy, would bring in about 100 people per week for us.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, 100 people. A lot of people, if they were getting an extra 100 followers a week,
Mhm.
is pretty great.
Yeah.
Like, and oftentimes fairly targeted as well. And so, with building all of this out, obviously we started to get more followers. We started to get more leads, and obviously now we had to hand off sales to someone.
Mhm.
So maybe walk people through a little bit of like that process, because I think when we started to work together, you had the closer in, but they weren't closing much. And
Yeah,
so what was
I think she had only come in like a week. She
yeah,
was like a week fresh.
very new,
Absolutely. Yes,
very
she
new.
was.
So what were some of the main like sales strategies that we worked through that started to finally feel like, hey, we are getting clients coming in on a pretty consistent basis?
I think one of the biggest things was you telling me that I couldn't just hand it all off right away. And watching sales, like watching my sales calls, and I mean, we did find a unicorn, don't get me wrong, not just because of experience, but she also had experience in the health field with the demographic that we know.
Yeah.
So there was a learning gap. There was like both a knowledge gap with our process, and there was also not, but I was very privileged that there was no knowledge gap with sales, at least, but it is very different in every business. So a lot of
Yeah.
meetings, like things that I was not used to doing. There comes a time where you're in the business nonstop, and that's all you do. You are the business. And
Mhm.
then there's this thought process where you are now the leader outside, and you're a little bit working on the business and in the business. And so
Yeah.
that took a lot of
Mhm.
learning to be a leader, learning that I can still be a leader imperfectly, like not
Yeah.
feeling like I have to wear that massive hat and I know everything. No, it was a lot of communication, but she's phenomenal, honestly. And so, but there was a different way of thinking completely when you start to hire out.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it does go from you doing all the work to now like you having to manage people, right? And management can be a full rainbow of fun and hard times. And this is a big thing. I mean, for some of the people watching this, some of the people watching this are probably trying to maybe hire their first or second person into their business. What have you found to be some of the most important things to make sure that they're performing well and that things are actually going the way that you want it to go?
I think in a lot of cases, who you hire first matters based on what your needs are. Ruben is actually making me do a time edit or a time audit this week.
Yeah.
Not something I'm unfamiliar with and not the first time I've done it. And I think that those are things that seem like really annoying to do at the time. But when you truly see where your time goes, it will show you who your next hire is. So in the beginning, my first hire was a VA, right? Someone who could help manage the background, the back end of things. And then it made sense for the sales team to come in next because that was where all of my time was going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I
Yeah.
want to deliver. Most of us want to deliver. Like I will be completely, if you're in a healthcare business at the very, like for sure, you're likely on the end, like, I just want to help people. But
Mhm.
it does require, unfortunately, for us to help people, they have to see you, they have to know that you exist.
Exactly. And that's where, like, I always tell people, I was talking to someone yesterday, I'm like, you don't want to be the best kept secret in the industry. You really don't. And you could be so good at helping people and have the best method or program, but if you're not getting clients, it's
Mm.
not helping anyone, right? So learning how to market and sell effectively is literally the biggest reason that you're going to help more people. And
Yeah,
so,
we're at a little bit of a disadvantage, I like to say, when we're in a
yeah,
health industry is like we're wanting to help people and we've had to go to school for all this stuff. And we didn't know in that contract somewhere that you had to go to business school too.
oh, for sure. We hear it all the time, whether people are like in your space or like holistic nutritionists or dietitians. They're always like, well, no one told me that I didn't have to spend money to learn my, like, grow my
Yeah.
business. And it is the truth. You do need to. It's similar to, like, a lot of people think that if they go to university, they automatically will get a job. And we now see that that's very much not the case, right? That is just like a small piece of it. So
Yeah.
learning these things is so critical. Now, and I don't want to take too much of your time today because I know how busy you are because I coach you. So let's wrap it up with this question. For the people who are watching this live today or watching the replay, what would you say, like, besides what we've talked about today, whether it's a mindset or whether it is just how you view the business or what you've been working on, what's been the number one thing that, in your opinion, people can do in the next month or two and controllably do to start to get better results in their business?
I don't think that's a fair question because there are different places to be in your business. But I will
Yeah.
offer this. If I was starting over, and I did do this, I think, well, is that if you look at it from if you want to serve people, you need to have people in your orbit. So
Mm,
looking at it from if you don't have those people, start working on getting those people. The second place is if you have people, well, then you need to focus on how do you tell those people
yeah.
that you can help them. And I think this is something that healthcare or health professionals that like all around don't do enough is just say, hey, I can help you, which is
Mm,
literally the same thing as a sale. And people are so uncomfortable with it. But if they don't know, you won't make sales. And the last thing is that if you're doing that well, then grab your one thing that I wish that I had done earlier is get every testimonial you can.
yeah. Oh, 100%. No, those are great pieces of advice. Yeah, the testimonials is such a big piece as well. And I feel like a lot of people, they feel like they're bugging people to get a testimonial or whatever it might be. But the truth is, like, that's really the lifeblood of the next clients coming in. And if you want to help more people, it's okay to bug people for a testimonial. I mean,
Even if you have a Win Wednesday, I will offer that in my
yeah,
Instagram, we have, your highlight buttons. So
yes,
there's about 100 stories you can have in there. We have two almost full stories, like
right.
completely two full highlights. There's almost 200 testimonials of what we do. And that is something that I know brings more and more people into our orbit. So definitely ask.
I love it. I love it. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for spending the time here today. I'm sure the folks listening to this live and those that'll watch it after the fact, which is always, I feel like, the most, are going to get a ton of value out of it. Yeah, folks, if you got any questions, like I said, comment them down below and we'll answer everything for you. But we're just so excited that you folks are a part of our new school community here. Our goal, I said it on my stories today, is to have the best business advice for health professionals and health experts, and that's also the school community here. We want it to be the best spot for you folks, so make sure you're asking your questions in there and you're watching the free stuff in the classroom section. And other than that, folks, we are going to be tuning up for the day. So thanks for joining all, and we'll chat with you folks soon. Bye for now.